Hello, it's Fiona Hooper here again, and I'm back with another instalment of my live show, The Poetry of Painting. So first of all, I'd just like to say my thanks to all the wonderful people who came to our Blooms event last weekend. Now I'm just starting to think ahead to our next event in September, so it never stops. Anyway, now it's my great pleasure to welcome back Roz Ottery to talk about poetry and painting with me. So, welcome, Roz. How are you?
I'm fine, Fiona. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me back. I'm very excited.
You're very welcome. And how have you been since your last visit here? Has it been okay with COVID and things? And
yes. I mean, I think we're all a little bit apprehensive, aren't we, about what's going to happen with the new variant and all the other things. But I mean, it's strange. We have all the isolation, and then suddenly it's almost as if nothing has happened.
Yes,
So,
and it's also the uncertainty of what's going to happen when as well, and
yeah,
trying to make plans is a bit not very easy at the moment anyway. So
I always think that long periods of isolation are not too bad for poets, because there's always something to do. I've always got something that I'm trying to work on, so it's not too bad for me.
Yeah, well, very similar for me as an artist as well.
Yeah.
I've been able to paint a lot more than I did before, because of just so much more time here doing it rather than being distracted by going other places. So so anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about my painting, which is called The Headland, which I shall now add to the screen so that people can see it. And it's actually up above me here on the wall. It's quite a large painting, this one. Having said that, I think it's about 40 by 60 centimeters or 40 by 50. Haven't looked, actually, must check that out. Roz, we didn't discuss the painting at all beforehand, so I'm really keen to hear what you made of it. And would you like to read your poem for us?
I will. I quite like the fact, Fiona, that we don't discuss it beforehand. It's exciting for me to hear your version of it, and it's always better for me in some respects that we don't discuss it, because I'm always heavily influenced by any discussion about something. So it's quite nice to have a completely blank board and just to start off. And the last poem that I did for you went in a very strange direction, and ended
but it was
up
great.
being
absolutely fantastic.
It was a bit allegorical in the end, wasn't it? It was a bit. It was,
yes.
But nevertheless, it was not a descriptive poem. It was more to do with an emotional response. Well, they're all a bit emotional response. This one is about the painting, but what it brought up for me, I was brought up by water. I was brought up the south coast of England, so the beach and the sea was very much part of my life, and I think some of those influences are definitely within this poem.
Right.
So I'll just read it as it stands, and then we can perhaps have a little discussion afterwards after we've heard yours too.
Absolutely.
Okay, The Headland. The hand of the infinite carved this cove, cerulean sky and azure sea. It lifts my gaze to the horizon, senses vast far oceans beyond where I can see. The ebb and flow of timeless tides, in harmony with rocky counterparts, creates a haven warmed by sun and sand, without, within, like the senses in my heart. I can hear shanty songs, see smuggling ships, rich imagining of long lost tales, or scattered wrecks, the seagulls screaming, backwards, forwards, the washing waves o'er the broken sails. I spy a grassy hill where lovers may be climbed, and shared a secret kiss, or even three. I trace it curling round the headland to this sheltered spot, time and tide, now the children playing carefree in the lee. The coarse grass, yellow-tipped by wind-swept rush, contrasts with coast moulded by the hand divine. How can it be that earth gives up her beauty with such ease? Simply complex contrast of the flow and lie.
Lovely. Very, very good. Interestingly, I'd come up with some of those sort of words and things myself, but actually most of them I haven't used in my poem, so they are going to be quite different. But the vegetation on the cliffs and that, I had quite similar ideas, but didn't express them. Well, they didn't get into the poem, but didn't express them quite as beautifully as you did anyway. But so that's good. So anyway, my poem is a little bit more of a story, maybe, not quite as descriptive of the scene itself. So here we go. The headland. What tales these rocks could tell, if only they were able, of smugglers bold and contraband, the stuff of legend and of fable. Rugged rocks, strong and dark, tall cliffs resisting the sea's embrace, breakers thundering into dark caves where brandy was hidden by the case. Those ancient runners in their sailing ships, risking the hidden shards of granite, desperate to land their ill-gotten goods. Could this be their last night on this planet? The rascals are gone, but the rocks remain, exposed to the Atlantic's full force, waves that have travelled the ocean's width, never deviating from their course. Beside the headland, nestling close, sandy coves of golden sand, where white horses break on the beach, ridden by surfers, young and tanned. Gulls soar on the salt-laden breeze, making their nests on the steep cliff faces, raising their young and resting in safety in these high and inhospitable places. Some say that on a moonlit night, when the tides are high and the hour is late, the spirits of those old rapscallions arise aboard their ghostly ships, sailing to their fate. So that was
Interesting.
my one.
They are not, I don't think they're as dissimilar as, I mean, obviously the styles are dissimilar, but it's still, well, I said vast imaginings. Well, actually that's the same sort of response.
Yes.
So that's quite interesting, really.
Conjuring up a story of not just what you can see, but things, that we know but can't see in the painting, and just what it, as you say, the emotional response to that painting.
Yeah.
So,
and the fact that the smuggling ships were in both were quite interesting, because it is that type of environment, isn't it? You would imagine that it's far from anywhere, so it would be quite easy to get contraband up there, I think.
Absolutely, and in times gone by, when there were far less houses around and everything, it was probably even easier, with the caves but the dangers that they faced with the hidden rocks under the water and in their wooden ships, and
absolutely.
So many crashing and being wrecked, and then the locals all coming down to the beach to collect what they could and hide it away. So
the original poem of this, which this is only five verses, and I think that the original one was 7, and I cut out the verses with the waves with white horses because it made the poem go on too long, and to a certain extent sometimes less is more when you're trying to describe things. So to a certain extent, I think that although they are vastly different in style, I think they do have quite a lot in common. Which is quite amazing, really.
Yeah, but also the concepts, with the gulls and the rocks and the solidity and So that's really interesting that and yours with the vegetation that's been dried on the ends and that was something that come to me as well. So, well, I'm really pleased with
Yes.
that, actually, because
It's quite interesting, isn't it? It fascinates
Yeah.
me, Fiona. It really does. Each time I do one of these, it is surprising that there are similarities throughout. And maybe it's because human experience does have points at which it will mean something. Particular things mean things to everybody. Like you can't see a scene like that without thinking that there'll be gulls, for instance.
Yes.
Anyone that knows the shoreline knows that there's a gull's nest in places like this. So
and
I
the
guess
waves come in from miles away, and yeah.
So there will be common experience, which obviously will guide the hand, I guess, of the writer. But it still fascinates me that, one of the poems that I began and disbanded was the fact that originally I looked on this and I wondered what it would be like in the Second World War, when there were people coming to this country, sometimes as spies, and trying to find places to land, etc., etc. And that's because some of the rocks over by the headland are quite square, and they look like they may have been breakers or the beginnings of defences at some time.
Yes.
But I abandoned that one because it didn't go anywhere with me, really.
Yeah. I found it surprisingly difficult to get into this one. I don't know why, because it's my painting, and I was there. I felt the breeze, the sun on my back, and the smells, the sounds, and everything. So it was surprisingly difficult to really just get going with it. But luckily, once it did start, it did seem to flow quite well, which was lucky, because I was panicking at that stage. And I'll never have a poem for this painting. But it did. I did. And
yes,
there we are.
The far cry of many people. It's quite strange, really. Oops. It's quite strange, really, because
I've lost your sound a bit, Roz.
This number time.
I'm losing you a bit, Roz.
When have the grids got to us, Fiona? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, I think there's gremlins in the works somewhere.
Yes, the internet gremlins are out to play.
But I guess that experience would suggest that that no matter who you are, each poem, sometimes it's torn from your very flesh, and other times it just flows, and you can write it in 5 minutes, and they don't necessarily mean that the one torn from your flesh is the better poem. It depends on what happens, really. Sometimes if you bond with a scene, or you bond with something, it writes itself. It literally writes itself.
Yes, yeah. I've had a couple that virtually did, which was really nice and quite encouraging, but and strangely enough, the other one that I didn't get into as easily was the other one, the Blustery Day one, that you found more difficult as well.
Yes.
So that was interesting.
That was the most difficult.
Yes.
And I loved the painting. I really, really felt the painting. But maybe that's one of the reasons why it was difficult to get into, because the feeling that I felt from it was almost impossible to put into words, because it was to do with what it made me sort of feel, because there was an aloneness about that one. Which I think probably maybe because of COVID, because we've all been alone or something, I don't know, but it really got to me. So that's in the end what I wrote about.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Well, and Roz, could I ask you, will you send me your poem for this one to put on my Facebook page with the painting in due course?
Yes,
that would be lovely. Thank you. So So share with us what you've been up to, Roz. I gather that there's an event coming up, a poetry event.
There is. I've been very lucky enough to be chosen to be part of There Is No Planet B, which is Stafford, I think it is, and it's an outdoor event similar to a music festival, except it's poetry, and it's poetry all day. We've each got our slots. We will be going on stage and doing the bits that we have with environmental poetry, and hopefully perhaps stirring people to, I don't know, think not. I think we all think about the environment, but I think it's about what is it that really matters. Like there's part of one of the poems that I've written for it that says the word consumer. We use the word consumer all the time, and we never ever think about what it means. It's perfectly okay to be called a consumer because the advertising people have done it all the time. But it's that type of thing. So the poetry is supposed to be stirring the sort of, just think about this. Think about it, not just about the environment, but what are we allowing ourselves to be? So, yes, I'm very excited about that.
Yes, and I think that's a great subject, for the because people are getting a bit more aware now, thankfully. And anything that we can do to help raise that awareness of what we're doing to this planet and how far it's already gone, can we bring it back? Can we save it from sort of total destruction for human life on it, which might give other things a bit of a chance, but, and it wouldn't be the first time that life has been virtually wiped out on this planet, but that's been through events that are, natural events, as opposed to being caused by something living on the planet itself.
I know. That on the Facebook page, I shared it. Was a little painting of, well, not a painting, a photo of a shark and a photographer, a great big white shark, and a photographer taking a photo of it, and they were so close. And you immediately think, oh my goodness, because he wasn't in a cage or anything. And it said, this is one of the most dangerous animals on the planet. And it kills this many people a day, which is thousands. And you think,
but
what? And then it says,
not the one with the fins.
And it's next to a white shark minding its own business.
Yeah.
So that was,
absolutely.
That was quite interesting.
Yes. I mean, they kill to eat and to survive.
Exactly.
Not like humans. Yes. Yeah. And how about your vast collection of amazing poetry, Roz? Have you taken any further steps to be able to allow more people to enjoy that?
Well, I've been thinking about it for absolutely ages, and self-publishing is the way that lots of people go, and I've been sort of erring towards that because I want them in book form, so that they're not just pieces of paper under the bed that's going to be used as firelighters when I go on pass on.
Don't say that.
Well, I love my poetry, but not everybody likes poetry, but I've also been sending samples off to various people, and I've actually got a response from a publisher at the moment, and so I'm crossing my fingers. They want to see more, so I'll send some more off and see where we go with that. I'm really excited about that. I'm trying not to be too excited because it may not come to fruition, but I hope it will.
But if the first one doesn't, try again, keep trying.
Well, indeed.
You hear stories of so many authors that have made it big, but at the beginning had to try so many different publishers until they eventually got published. So definitely keep trying. That would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
And of course, there's another book project underway, of course, which will have both yours and mine and a few poets working as well. So
yeah, that's exciting as well.
I'm crazy excited about it, like a school child, really, because I just think it's so fantastic, the idea, and it's not just my stuff, it's promoting other people as well, and sharing the beautiful poems that my guests have all written about my paintings, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
I just think it's just, I say, a bit like a kiddie in a sweet shop sort of excitement.
Well, do you know that day that I stop having that feeling would be the day that I probably am ready to give it all up, because I think that to be excited, I think a child's wonder at what can happen and those things are all part of being an artist. It's very hard to really do anything like this, whether it's painting, poetry or music or any other form of art, if you haven't got that childlike acceptance and wonder of what of the possible, really.
Yes. It's like with recently I've been using gold leaf in my paintings a lot. So
I've seen that.
top
I think
ones
it's
are gold
lovely.
leaf, and it's amazing the way that you turn it and it catches the light in different ways, or the light levels.
It's almost like different seasons, isn't it? When you turn
absolutely.
it looks almost as if like night and day and winter and summer. It is amazing.
Yeah. And this one up here, when the light changes, although obviously the paint stays exactly the same, it can make it look as though it's just gone into silhouette. You don't see the variation in the paint, and it just looks like a sunset behind it.
Amazing.
And I've actually done one. Sorry, getting excited about this again because I just love using it. I've done one with silver leaf instead of gold leaf, and that's a seascape with cliffs, and so you see a lot of the silver leaf under the water and the sky. And I've just put a slight glaze over those, which you still get the silver shining through, and I'm just so pleased with it. It's just really worked well. I haven't used the silver leaf before, so it was an experiment, and I was just really really excited doing it, and it's come out pretty well. So can't wait to share that with people soon. So
there's a lovely quote, Fiona, that you may like. And it says, I can't, whether or not this is the exact words, it's difficult to remember, but it says, painting is silent poetry, and poetry is painting that speaks.
Yes.
And I think that is exactly, when you've got that effect with that gold and silver leaf. I mean, it's a type of poetry to watch how it changes, how it makes the picture different, each angle that you put it in. It's amazing, really.
Yeah, I just think it's fascinating, and I'm going to be doing some more. I'm a little bit addicted to it now, so I should be doing some more gold leaf paintings. I haven't got enough silver to do any more silver leaf ones at the moment, because I just thought I'd try that one time. Somebody said that they'd used it and they felt it made the paintings look a bit cool, a bit too cold, but in the one that I've done, the cliffs are quite warm, lots of warm colours in there. So overall, it doesn't make the painting look cold, So I may venture into a bit more silver leaf as well, but definitely the gold leaf. So absolutely fascinating. Good. But I may even just use oils sometime again. But
yes,
I don't know if that's going to seem whether that's going to seem tame compared with gold leaf or not. I don't think so, because I love the oils anyway. But and I actually did a little watercolor last week, because we started up a little art group again for the first time since before the first lockdown, and I couldn't face putting all my stuff together with my oils because I was a little bit short on time. And I've got him over here. I just decided I would do just a little whippet in watercolor. So
do you know what? That is a lovely, lovely painting. It really is beautiful. So it's full of life, and it's full of movement.
Yeah, I think whippets are gorgeous. They're just so elegant and graceful. Love them to bits. But it was just really good fun to do. Oh, absolutely. So what's on the horizon apart from the Stafford show? Any more after that?
Not at the moment. I haven't done any open mics or anything like that I've done. Have all been on Zoom. So and that it's not as I don't find that as exciting as actually being in the room and doing a poetry reading when people are there. The atmosphere is very different. So at the minute, it's still all a little bit subdued because of the COVID thing. But who knows? It starts as soon as one person starts it, it begins to ramp up, and then I'm sure that we'll be off and running again. Really.
Yes.
I did 2 years ago at the Shipley Festival, and that was more environmental as well. And they had a main stage and several other stages around that we all alternated to go around, and it was an amazing event because everybody was there with picnics and champagne and all that sort of business, and just really enjoying themselves. And it was so nice to be able to read and to say poems that people were listening to, but they had children with them, so the children were listening and all of that. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute that half those children understood some of it. Maybe they didn't, but they all enjoyed it.
Excellent. That sounds like such fun. I don't know if they have any down this way. I'll have to find out, because that just sounds like a really fun time, taking the picnic and the champagne as well. That sounds like fun.
That's always fun.
You have to save that for after you've done your reading. Otherwise it might come out a little bit skewy. Oh dear. We've got some good news as well, in that we're starting up the Kingston exhibitions again week on Saturday, weather permitting. Excellent. So and that's been since February 2020, our last one of those as well. So really looking forward to that, getting out there, seeing people, showing the work to people in person, especially the gold ones, because I think that'll, they look so good in real life. A photograph doesn't really quite do them justice. So really looking forward to that. So we've both got exciting things coming up for us, which is brilliant. Yeah. So Roz, I'm hoping that, having had such a wonderful appearance and poem from you again yet this time, that you will come back and join me again in future. Love to. So, because I just love chatting with you. It's great. It's a really nice thing to do, Fiona. I really enjoy the just listening to the contrast of the poems and being given the challenge of a painting, because when you are on a spot and you can do a poem, you have to really feel for something like a poem to get something from it. And there's not been any of yours that I've ever seen that hasn't given me, quite an emotional jolt. That's another thing. Breathe in experience, breathe out art. So that's what they say. Good saying. Very good saying. Absolutely. So thank you so much for being on the show again. I've really enjoyed it. Me too. So next week, I'll be back with another fabulous poet coming to join me for more talk about poetry and painting. So I hope that you'll be able to join me again for that at the new time of 7:00 UK time here on Facebook. And just a quick reminder that you can sign up to my VIP mailing list to see new paintings and invitations for events via my newsletter. And that's at www.fionahooper.com. So stay safe. Thanks for being here and watching, and have a jolly good week. And I hope to see you in a week's time on Wednesday for another Poetry of Painting session. So it's bye from now from Roz and myself. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.